Now, I think we can all take a moment to admit that Twitter is extremely toxic, especially when it comes to Stan Twitter. The cesspool of hate being spread is quite frankly both scary and disgusting. And in certain instances, you can very clearly see there's an element of jealousy to it. There's definitely an element of definitely immatureness, but also a real sense of jealousy in each tweet. Now, with that in mind, let me now with that in mind, the latest narrative being spread is about Teddy. Now, Teddy's influence in the world of K-pop needs no mention, and in trying to keep this video as short as possible, I'm going to avoid the things that have been mentioned and discussed a million times. For instance, like his excellent producing skills, or his rise to K-pop royalty by producing for groups and artists like Big Bang 21, Blackpink, Sunmi, and Jeon Somi, etc. Now, I am here to briefly discuss the fairness or unfairness about the narrative being spread right now that claims that Teddy's music is repetitive, his music lacks in quality, that he's suffering from a burnout and is in need of a rest. Now, depending on your taste in music, you might very well find his music producing skills either that of a genius producer or subpar and repetitive. And I'm not here to discuss something as subjective as a person's taste in music or debunk that he has a set style of music. I am here to offer a counter perspective on some of the criticisms being spread. Let's start with the suggestion that Teddy doesn't deviate from his usual formula. This, to an extent, is largely true, especially in recent years, more so when it comes to the title tracks. But it is a formula which has been immensely successful, and you've seen various other agencies and producers try to replicate it, and for the most part it hasn't quite worked out. And even when they've tried to mix things up with a song like Ice Cream or Lovesick Girls, the reception hasn't been quite the same as opposed to How You Like That, for instance. And this despite the participation of Jennie and Jisoo in the composition of Lovesick Girls, something that fans, including myself, have cried out for years for. Even with Somi's recent comeback, Dum Dum. Yes, once again, the song was met with the usual, or the initial, I should say, with initial criticisms, but the song itself charted pretty well and the choreography went viral. Now, you could, point out, or you could say that the success of that particular song is down to many factors, and I agree. But the fact is, the song still did very well and probably did more than anyone had expected it to do. Now, that is not to say that I like everything that Teddy has produced or had a hand in producing. Underground and Bet You Wanna, for instance, really didn't impress me at all. In fact, I removed them from my, library. You could say that, maybe, and I don't know this for a fact, but you could say that Teddy wasn't the chief contributor when it comes to the production of the songs, but Teddy is the one who selects it, if I'm not wrong. he selects the music that's, that makes the final uh, project. So, while I congratulate him and credit him for his for the good things that he does, that does not make him free of mistakes, but it is what it is. Also, it's a real credit to Blackpink that a lot of artists who attempted to cover Blackpink's songs have really struggled, and very few who actually done a reasonably good job of covering the songs have had to rearrange the instruments, like the structure of the music itself. There are also criticisms claiming that Blackpink are a brand rather than a K-pop group due to their limited releases and style of music. Whatever you wish to call them, there's no denying that they are the biggest girl group in the world, and Teddy, along with his team of producers like RT24, Vince Lauren, etc., even Becca Boom, have been integral to their success and deserve a lot of credit for it. If it's so, if it's such a simple thing to do or to replicate, I'm sure a lot of companies would jump at the opportunity to replicate it. So just bear that in mind. Some people also suggest that Teddy is dealing with a creative block or that he's facing a burnout. Obviously, producing for Blackpink has to be quite stressful due to the high stakes involved, and he's also the CEO of the Black Label and has his own artists like Somi to manage and produce music for. But it's immature to assume that Teddy doesn't take breaks and that he doesn't have a life outside of producing just because we aren't being made privy to everything that goes on in his life. It does not mean that he is cooped up in his studio 24/7, 365. It's not the way it works. Another contributing factor could be that Blackpink are heading into the sixth year of their contract, and sooner rather than later, the members will have to sit down with YG representatives and make a decision about the group's future and the individual members' futures as well. So that really makes it tough for them to create this room to experiment with. And by now, I think they've come to the conclusion that they have a set formula which gets them really really good results, and I don't expect them to you know switch it a lot unless we with the members solo project. So whether they want to, whether it's in the form of a collaboration, I don't see them making big changes. Maybe if Blackpink decides to re-sign with YG, that gives them more time, and at that point definitely you could expect a lot of uh, you know changes to their style of music. And at that point, I'll be on board with you if they don't switch things up and try new things. They don't experiment with their sound. At that point, you have to say, okay, this is not cool, this is unacceptable for artists of Blackpink stature. That ain't acceptable. But right now, with them heading into the last few years of their contract, I don't think they will want to experiment a lot. They will want to maintain some stability, and I don't think at this point Blackpink's music needs a lot of tinkering. Now, that's entirely different with Somi, and I think with Somi, even with Dum Dum, you could say yes, Teddy and Arthi stuck to their usual formula, but there is a slight difference to it. And you know, if you heard the song, you will come to know the differences. Like there's no empty choruses. There is, yeah, it's a pretty different. It's hard to explain. I'm not the most expressive person when it comes to explaining things, and I'm not that well versed when it comes to um, the technicalities of music. So let me just say that it's a bit different. They've tried to switch things up, and I definitely expect Teddy to really switch it up with the next album. That's Somi's album. At the end of the day, music alone isn't going to make artists and groups prolong their careers or put a roof over their heads, cliche at me as it may sound. How many times have we seen groups just suddenly, abruptly disband, and we thought to ourselves, wow, they release some good music, they don't deserve to, disband. But there are many factors that contribute towards the success of a group and the longevity. So it is, sadly, that is what it is. As much as as much as I and every one of us would like quality music to come out of the Black Label and Teddy to produce it, sometimes that is not the best thing that that might not necessarily be the best thing for the group or a particular artist. In conclusion, you could say that Teddy and his team have collectively cracked the code. It's a formula that many have since tried to replicate, but it just hasn't been, they've just not been able to, gain the same level of success. That's it from me for this video. Leave your thoughts and comments below. If you think different, please let me know. And yeah, let's have an open-minded discussion if that's possible. And also please consider liking, subscribing, and sharing the video. It really helps out. And I know this video is a bit longer than I initially intended it to be, um, but it is what it is, people. So till next time, take care.